Hello there guys, it's me Sam here. So welcome back to another video, and today we're back doing a tier list. Again, I know it's been a little bit since I did one of these. The last one I did was a little, not fully, but was a bit controversial according to my comment section, but, you know, that's the good thing with this gig. So today's tier list is we're rating the Transformers movies. So these are one of my favorite movie franchises of all time, so I'm gonna rate them, go in order. I'm gonna rate them and try to figure out, what I liked, what I didn't like, and we're gonna release in chronological order, so we're gonna release and go through this order right here. So first, we're gonna start with the Transformers the movie. I'm gonna put in B. I haven't seen it in a while, but I really liked the characters and the emotion. Obviously, Optimus kind of, dying and stuff. That was really big and really, impactful. Leonard Nimoy, I thought, did a great job with Galvatron after they had that battle and they brought everything back. Like I said, it's been a while since I've seen the movie, so I don't remember all of it. But that Optimus Prime death scene, I think it was a really good movie. Bumblebee. Bumblebee, I really enjoyed this movie. I would put an S tier. It was a really good movie. I mean, it was probably one of the best movies I've ever seen from the franchise. I thought, they did a good job of mixing the human arc with the Transformers themselves. Or I thought, the Haley Steinfeld did a great job as Charlie in the movie. Her story was fluid, and I thought it was really good there. You know how at the beginning, she didn't talk to her family that much. She didn't get along with them. She was kind of shy, all that stuff. She stopped doing what she did. She kept trying to fix her dad's car and stuff. And then Bumblebee comes in the fold, and like how they develop like a nice little friendship. How they developed a nice little friendship and all that stuff. I thought, and it was nice actually getting to see Cybertron full scale too, like a full scale Cybertron in the midst of the battle. I thought Optimus Prime was great in this movie for his limited role. But I like that they made a movie focused on one character, and Bumblebee, is one of the most beloved characters. The only issue I had, and it's not going to deteriorate from the ranking, is no one knew originally if this was a sequel, or if this was a prequel, or if this was a reboot, because Bumblebee, face wise, head wise, and voice wise, it was kind of like from the previous Transformers movies. But the characters went to Earth in the 80s, but there was no. I don't know. I'll explain with these later movies, I'll explain kind of the backstories and all this stuff. Or I'll explain like what I think about, possible retconning of stuff. Transformers. The original Transformers from 2007. Really? Oh no, this is Revenge of the Fallen. Never mind. This is Revenge of the Fallen. I'm gonna put it. Ooh, I'm torn here. I'm gonna put it in low C tier. The only reason is because the movie had potential. They're coming off, a really big, Transformers did really well at the box office. The first one was well received. Revenge of the Fallen just kind of fell flat a bit. Had a good battle scene, a lot of good battle scenes, like when Optimus did the 3v1 with Starscream, Megatron, and Grinder. And I thought that was a really great scene. It was sad seeing Optimus die and stuff. But other than that, from then on, it just kind of felt boring until the end when Sam died, and then Sam got the Matrix and revived Optimus and got Jetfire's parts. And that last part of the movie I thought was really good when they were in Egypt. But anything in the beginning I thought was pretty interesting. But there's a few like story plots that we didn't get to see the end of, like that one guy's feud with the robots and stuff. Shia LaBeouf, I thought, played Sam Witwicky again really well. There's a lot of fun story dynamics that I thought had potential, but then they just kind of fell flat, like Sam not needing Bumblebee anymore, but then needing him. The Fallen, I thought, had potential to be a great villain, but I mean, they really didn't explain why he hated humans. All we know is, he killed the primes. seek the sun harvester and all that stuff, wanted to enslave and drain energy from the sun. I thought there was a Decepticon cast aside from Megatron Starscream I didn't think was all that good, but there were enjoyable parts, so that's why it's C tier. Like Transformers 1, I haven't seen the movie in its entirety, but I've heard good things about it. Very good origin story. I would put in B tier. It was a really good origin story. I saw the ending where D16 becomes Megatron and Orion becomes Optimus Prime. I thought, they did a really good job casting. Chris Hemsworth did good as I thought from what I have seen. Because I think I've seen most of the movie from clips, but never like fully. I thought it was interesting, how Orion, B127, and Alita and them started with no cogs. Then they get their Transformer cogs, and then like that pretty much starts D16 or Megatron's fall to darkness. I thought Sentinel was a good villain. How he how there was corruption in Cybertron and all that stuff. I thought it was really good. And yeah, Dark of the Moon. This is just me being biased, but I'm putting it in S tier. This is just me being purely biased. I liked Dark of the Moon. I thought it's probably my personal favorite film in the franchise. I just liked, how they were exploring the moon. I thought, the Autobots starting, to have not see eye to eye with the government for which they were allied with. I thought Sentinel Prime coming into the movie was really good. I thought his story, coming to Cybertron to try to, restore the planet, or come to Earth to try to restore the planet. Playing Double Agent originally, and I like how, he was going on Earth. He was going to Earth to meet with Megatron because they had a deal in place, and how nobody knew. I will say this though, R.I.P. to Ironhide, that was merciless what Sentinel did to him to betray him. And I thought, Sam Witwicky, this was a good conclusion to his arc. Just everyday life. How everyday life just came to be, and everything. Getting job messenger. The beginning was a bit weird with the comedy, but I thought this was actually the most comedic but fun Transformers film. I really liked all the battle scenes. I thought some of the dialogue was pretty well versed too. Obviously, you got Optimus Prime being Optimus Prime. He was a little more merciless though in this movie. He kind of gave more vibes of hey, we're gonna eliminate you and whatnot, because they were exiled because Sentinel wanted them exiled and all that. And I thought the ending was pretty cool when he just mercifully cut off Megatron's head and executed Sentinel with no second thoughts about it. He just did it, and I thought it was a really good way, to end that movie. And I thought that there was just so much right with it. The Battle of Chicago, which became the focal point of the franchise, I thought was there was really well done battle scenes. There was a nice crew of Decepticons, Megatron, Starscream, Soundwave, Shockwave, the Driller thingy. You got all the good iconic Transformers or iconic Decepticons in that movie. And obviously your Autobot cast. So I thought that it's probably my favorite film in the franchise. This is one of those movies where if it's on, I will watch it almost over anything else that's on. That's how good I think it is. The Last Knight, D. I really didn't care about the movie until the Optimus and Bumblebee fight scene. I really didn't care about the movie all too much aside from that. So I'd say that last half hour or so when Optimus and Bumblebee fight, Bumblebee speaks, brings Optimus back to the light, and then it becomes trying to prevent Cybertron from engulfing the Earth again. I thought Megatron's design was pretty cool, and I just didn't like how this movie retconned a lot of the other things about when Transformers came to Earth, which I'll elaborate further when I get to the first one, which is next. Because this one started with Merlin and stuff, and how there's this dragon helping King Arthur and his crew fight off and all that back in the day, which didn't make sense from what the original story was for the Transformers. I don't get it. I don't know. But Hot Rod I thought was a cool introduction. I thought Anthony Hopkins' character, Stratton Burton, was pretty interesting, but even with Mark Wahlberg, who I like as an actor, the movie just felt a little flat. And the TRF, still hunting Transformers after all these years, for whatever reason, and having to and reluctantly align with the Decepticons, I thought made no sense. So, yeah. Then we go to 2007 Transformers, A tier. It was a really good introduction to the franchise. Sam Witwicky, being introduced as the main protagonist, I thought was really good. It was that Autobots arriving to Earth scene, one of the greatest scenes ever in cinema. I love it. I love it. They had a nice crew of Autobots. The only thing I wish I would have seen more from them was some development from the Autobots, or character development, because like Optimus and Bumblebee, well, mainly Optimus, we already knew about from, Optimus and Bumblebee were in almost all like the previous media for shows and all that, and Ratchet too, but like Ironhide and Jazz were like kind of like side Transformers in a way, so we didn't really know much about them and didn't learn about them. We just know that Ratchet and Ironhide, were a little bit more like wanted to see chaos unfold more. In this, I thought, the Decepticons, interesting. Megatron being frozen in ice for years and being stuck on Earth, I thought was an interesting dynamic. There's a lot of fun battle scenes too, like that Optimus and Bone Crusher battle, Bumblebee and Barricade early on in the movie. I thought that was great. Sam Witwicky and Michaela, I thought that was, an interesting way to introduce their friendship and eventual relationship and all that stuff. And the ending where Optimus, says all surviving Autobots take refuge among the stars and said they're waiting, and then queuing in Lincoln Park, cinema, perfect cinema. I just didn't like Sam's parents. I thought they were a little annoying in this movie, but the only gripe I had too, and this was the issue in the later movies, was they kept retconning in the beginning, because when they came to Earth, we thought, oh, this is the first time the Autobots had ever been to Earth. But in Bumblebee, we see the Autobots already been on Earth, which made no sense, and what made me think that Bumblebee was a reboot as opposed to a prequel, even though Bumblebee's head mold is similar to this in the Michael Bay movie. So I don't know. I thought it was an interesting thing. I did like the Allspark 2 being like the main focal point of the movie, so it gave you a story about why they're all on Earth and stuff. The Autobots using it because they want to revive Cybertron, bring life back. Decepticons want to use it to enslave humanity, all that. Age of Extinction, okay. I'm going to get a lot of flack for this, but I actually didn't hate the movie. I'm going to put it in C tier, but high C tier. I didn't actually hate the movie all too much. I thought it was a good movie. And I know. And I'll explain why. I like dinosaurs. I love dinosaurs, but I didn't like that, Age of Extinction. I didn't like that the Dinobots weren't featured a lot. And I'm not saying it's a good movie. I just enjoyed it more than a lot of people do, because it's one of the most hated on movies in the franchise, along with The Last Knight. Although The Last Knight, in my opinion, is more justified. I didn't like that they did my boy Ratchet dirty when Lockdown ripped out his spark. I did like the humans versus Transformers dynamic, but like the two main human villains really didn't have much of a story. Kelsey Grammer, I thought, played his role as as Harold Attinger well, but I didn't think there was a interesting story to it. I didn't mind the new cast of Autobots. They were kind of annoying and kind of flat, but I didn't mind them. Hound, I thought, was absolutely hilarious. Mark Wahlberg, I thought, played well, but I thought, same plotline of he's just a dad, who wanted, to protect his daughter and stuff. So that was kind of But I liked a lot of the action. I did like that they brought Galvatron in. I didn't like the whole, Transformium stuff and all that. And I really didn't get the part that was confusing was was that the government was after all Transformers, but the government wasn't. But people believe the Autobots have been granted sanctuary, but that wasn't the case, or asylum, but that wasn't. And I don't know. That was whole confusing. And then the Age of Extinction thing where Transformers come in. That even 65 million years ago, I didn't. I kind of like retconned, you know, all 3 or 4 of the movies. So I don't know, but that had its potential. I thought it was flat in a lot of it, but I enjoyed it a bit more than I thought. That might just be me. Rise of the Beasts. I'm gonna put in B tier. I like the character models. I like that they kind of like Bumblebee, where like they went back to like the G1 look for a lot of these like RC, Optimus Prime, obviously. I like that they had Bumblebee's body mode being the Camaro again. Is it a prequel, a reboot, a sequel? Do they just want to give him that body mode to possibly tie in case they decided to make these movies canon to the Bay movies? I have no idea. But I I thought Noah was an interesting human character, but I really didn't, get him off too much. He was just trying to help his brother and stuff, but got roped into this Transformers mess. I thought him and Mirage had a good friendship. And I liked how Optimus, wasn't like in these movies where he wanted, where his goal was like protect humanity. I mean, he didn't want to hurt humanity, but his logic was he didn't like humans because like it wasn't their world. So he really didn't care because they just wanted to get home. They were stuck there. They didn't care about being there. So I thought it was interesting, to see like Optimus like in the sense of like in the Bayverse movies, like I just said, where he's all about like we don't harm humans, like this is like if we have to, this will be our home and stuff. So it was really interesting. I thought the battle scenes. I thought Scourge was a great villain. You know, Peter Dinklage did a great job with the voice casting. Unicron I thought did well. I thought Unicron was a very nice like sub villain too. I would have liked to have seen more Unicron though, like actually doing more Unicron things. I mean, obviously he couldn't eat the Earth because it but it killed. And I thought the Maximals being in there was really cool too. Optimus Primal was fun. I liked I forgot what the eagle's name was, Skylark or whatever it was. But I thought she was interesting, how she kind of got like possessed by Scourge and stuff. So I thought it was really interesting. And yeah, that's really it for my tier list. I'm curious to see what you guys think. If you guys like what you saw, like, subscribe. I'll see you in the next one. Peace.